Okay, let's look at this question from the August 2020 Term 3 test. It says, solve for the unknown variable, show all your working. So we're going to do 7.1 first. Remember, with every algebra problem, the very first thing you have to do is you have to write out the expression or the equation before you start. So there I've copied the equation exactly how it is. Now, this is a shoes and socks equation. There are two steps. You must take off the shoes before you take off the socks using inverse operations. Remember, I want you to keep your equal signs in line. So how are we going to get this p on its own? The p is just like an x, okay? So on this side of the equation, on the right-hand side of the equation, we are adding 2 to the p. So to get rid of the adding 2, I need to subtract 2. So if I subtract 2 on this side, I must subtract 2 on the other side, okay? Because what we do to the left, we do to the right. So I had 18 on this side, and now I must subtract the 2. So you can see on this side I've got plus 2, minus 2. They're going to cancel each other out. So I'm left on the right with 4p, okay? On the left-hand side, I've got 18 subtract 2. 18 subtract 2 is 16, okay? So now 4 times some number that I don't know that I'm calling p is going to be equal to 16. So you know that 4 times 4 is 16. But sometimes these numbers are more complicated. So we want to do the inverse operation. So the inverse operation, if I'm multiplying by 4, the inverse operation is to divide by 4, and I can either show it as a fraction or I can show it as divide by 4 like that. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4p divided by 4 leaves you with just p. So the answer is p equals 4, or 4 equals p. It's the same thing. You can write it either way. And then you can go back and check. If we put a 4 inside here, 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. We've solved the equation properly. Okay, so now let's look at the next one here. What color shall we do this in? Let's make it green. Okay, the next one here has got a bit more than shoes and socks. Number 7.2 says to you, 6x plus 12 equals 18 minus 3x. Now remember, this is more than a two-step equation, so we can always use don't call me after midnight. Remember I said don't call me after midnight. And most of the time, we just do the last two steps, which is add and subtract, and then multiply and divide. So you can see here's the add and subtract, and here is the multiply and divide, the last two steps in a two-step equation, okay? But now, we don't have the distributive property, so we're not going to do that. Then it says, the C stands for combine like terms. So on the left-hand side, I don't have like terms because I've got 6x plus 12. And on the right-hand side, I have 18 minus 3x. They're not like terms. So I'm going to scratch that one out. I don't need to do it yet. But I have got the first M, which says move the variable. So when you move the variable, it means get all your x's on the same side. So you want to get the x's on the side with the biggest x, okay? So the small x in this case is the subtract 3x. So I want to get rid of the subtract 3x on the right. So to get rid of subtract 3x, I must add 3x. And what I do to the left, I do to the right. And what I do to the right, I do to the left, okay? So now I've got 6x plus 12 plus 3x. Well, the 6x and the 3x belong together. They are like terms. 6 eggs plus 3 eggs is 9 eggs. Plus 12 equals, and then 18 minus 3x plus 3x, they cancel each other. That equals 18. Now look at your equation. Can you see it's got the same form as this equation? We have a number multiplied by a variable plus another number gives you the answer. Okay, so we're back down to our two-step variable. So remember, The next thing we're going to do is add and subtract. We want to get the x by itself, so on this side we are adding 12. So to get rid of the adding 12, I must now subtract 12, and what I do to the left, I do to the right. Okay, so now plus 12 minus 12, these two are going to cancel each other out. I'm left with 9x equals 18 minus 12 is 6. So now, remember I said to you before, it was easy over here when you looked at 16 equals 4p, yeah? This one is not so easy because it's going to come out as a fraction, okay? But we just do exactly the same thing that you are taught. What is happening with this 9 and the x? Okay, the 9 and the x are multiplying together. This 9 is the socks on the eggs. We already took the shoes off when we did the add and subtract. So the inverse operation of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. Okay, so 9x divided by 9 is going to give you just x. And then on the other side, I've got 6 divided by 9. So if you put that in your calculator, it's going to give you a number. But what we prefer in algebra is to put it as a fraction. Remember, the fraction is another way of showing division. So 6 over 9, I want to simplify it. So I divide the top and the bottom by 3, and I end up with 2/3. So x equals 2/3, and I can leave it as a fraction because this is algebra. So let's look at the last one. What color can we do this one? Purple. The last one says 3y plus 2 equals 7. Now, this 3 is touching the bracket, so I must immediately know I need to get rid of the bracket, and a number touching the bracket means multiply. So the 3 must first multiply with the y to give me 3y, and the 3 must multiply with the plus 2 to give me plus 6. So I'm left with this expression, 3y plus 6 equals 7. So you will get a mark for showing me you know how to distribute at this point. You use the distributive property, you multiply it into the brackets. Now I've got my same ordinary two-step equation, and with a two-step equation, the first thing I do is I add or subtract. So I want to get the y by itself, so I've got 3y and I'm adding 6. To get rid of the adding 6, I must subtract 6 because that is the inverse operation, and then what I do to the left I do to the right, and then I've got 3y, the plus 6 and the minus 6 get rid of each other. 3y equals 7 minus 6 is 1. Okay, so then I have here 3y equals 1. So 3 times a number equals 1. I need to figure out the number. So what am I going to do? It is multiplying. I'm going to make it divide by that number because that is the inverse operation. So 3y divided by 3 is going to give you y, and 1 divided by 3 we will write as the fraction 1/3. And there we go, we are finished this sum.